My name is Chris Bono, and I'm an associate professor of political science and president of the University Senate. What happened last week at Tree of Life was an assault on our values, our freedom, our community. It is precisely in times like these that we need to come together as one, to grieve together, and to move forward together. While none of us is happy to be here, there is no place I'd rather be. To begin our program this afternoon, I would like to invite Chancellor Patrick Gallagher for remarks, followed by a Pitt a cappella group, the Songbirds, who will perform "I Was Here" by Beyonce.
We're here today because evil visited us last week. To be more specific, it came to the Tree of Life in Squirrel Hill, less than 2 miles from where we stand today. 11 innocent people were murdered as they gathered to worship during Shabbat, and they were targeted simply because they were Jews. Mass murder, hate crime, terrorism, the deadliest act of anti-Semitic violence in our nation's history, and it happened here, in our city, in our neighborhood. Because of that, the victims were our friends, our family, our neighbors, our colleagues. It was an impossible day, one that seems impossible still. You see, this kind of thing isn't supposed to happen in America's friendliest city, across the street from where Fred Rogers started his. But it did. Too often we have seen similar acts of murder and violence, and whether they were rooted in differences of faith, race, ethnicity, place of birth, sexual orientation, gender, they are unacceptable. These acts of pure hatred have grown far too common, but they can never become acceptable. It can be tempting to give in to grief, to feel helpless against this kind of evil, to feel powerless that you can make a difference. But we are not helpless, and we are not powerless. One of the most essential things we can do is to stand together. Together, we are resilient. Together, we are powerful. So today, we stand together in strength to honor those that were taken from us, to comfort those that were left behind, to support those who were injured, whether in body or in soul, while they heal, to protect those who are afraid, to pick up those who are down, and to defend each other rigorously and righteously from hatred. Today we stand together in gratitude for those who risked their very lives to stop a murder, for those who saved lives through their bravery and their medical expertise, for those who treated, for those who gave comfort, and for our local Jewish community who has responded to this heinous act of anti-Semitism with a profound lesson in resiliency and grace. Yes, there is an undeniable power in togetherness. And for this very reason, our commitment to stand together must last long after this pain recedes, long after the news crews have left, long after the wounded have healed. We must stand together because the hate will still be there. And because our society's most basic and essential values, like freedom and justice and equality, are meaningless and in jeopardy unless together we have the collective will to act and make them real. In the days ahead, our response to this tragedy must be to actively stand together, to offer a helping hand, to reject discrimination of every kind, to seek to understand others, to practice compassion and love. And so today, right now, let us all resolve that our commitment to stand together will endure. Until we have built that better tomorrow, a world that offers peace and freedom for everyone, a place that stands against hatred, a place of love. That, after all, is real power. Let us show the world that is what we mean when we say Pittsburgh strong.
Hi, everyone. As Chancellor Gallagher mentioned, we are the Songbirds. We are one of the a cappella groups here at Pitt, and we are really honored to be included in this event today. And we are going to be singing I Was Here by Beyonce, because we feel like the power of that message is really aligned closely with the power of the messages we hope you all take from the event today. We just want to spread the love and the hope. And so we hope you enjoy our piece. Thank you.
One, two, three, 2, 2, 1.
I wanna leave my footprint on the sands of time. Know there was something that meant something that I left behind. When I leave this world, I'll leave no regrets. Leave something to remember so they won't forget I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here.
I wanna say I lived each day until I died. No, there was something that meant something in somebody's life. The hearts I have touched will be the proof that I leave, that I made a difference, and this world will see I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it could be. I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here.
I just want them to know that I gave my all, did my best, brought someone some happiness, left this world a little better just because I was here. I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than
Thank you, Chancellor Gallagher and members of the Songbirds group. We will now hear words of reflections from students, faculty, and staff. Our first reflection will be given by Brian Burke. Brian is from Squirrel Hill and is a political science major with a minor in history and is also pursuing a certificate in Jewish studies. He is currently the president of the Pitt Hillel Jewish Student Union. Following Brian, we will hear from Ronald Linden. Ron is a professor of political science at the University of Pittsburgh and served as the director of the European Studies Center at Pitt from 2011 to 2016. Our next reflection is from Elizabeth Rangel, Director of Communications at the Learning, Research, and Development Center, LRDC. Elizabeth personally knew Joyce Feinberg, who was one of the victims in the Tree of Life tragedy. She worked directly with her as a research specialist. The final reflection will be given by Zahava Rubin. Zahava is an active member at Shabbat at Pitt, an organization dedicated to the Jewish undergraduate experience. In May of this year, Zahava, along with students from Pitt, CMU, and Duquesne, participated in the Birthright trip to Israel.
This tragedy is deeply personal for me. I grew up just a few blocks away from Tree of Life. I knew one of the victims, Cecil Rosenthal, and family members and friends knew many more. The sense of security that I had as a Jew for 2 decades was an illusion that shattered that morning. Each day has brought new challenges and pain. The past week has been the worst of my life. I am not okay, but I will not give up. The hatred that took 11 lives 9 days ago will not win. Jewish tradition teaches us that the world stands on 3 pillars, one of which is gemilut chasadim, or acts of loving kindness. Over the past week, students and other members of our university family, Jewish and non-Jewish alike, have come together to create moments of light badly needed during this time of immense darkness. Thank you to everyone who has been there to support the Pitt Jewish community. Together, we are stronger than hate. May the memories of the victims forever be a blessing.
Hello. Like many of my colleagues, I am not from Pittsburgh. I've only been here 40 years, which makes me, in Pittsburgh terms, a newcomer. But my ties, like those of my colleagues, are to Pitt's 3 communities, Squirrel Hill, Pitt, and the city of Pittsburgh. My son became a bar mitzvah at Tree of Life. My daughter received her Hebrew name there. My wife and I attend services at Dor Chadash, which is one of the congregations that shares the building. It's full of academics. There are so many academics, we could have a faculty meeting chaired by a rabbi if we wanted. Our connections, as was also true of my colleagues, are multiple and not necessarily religious. My wife worked at LRDC with Joyce Feinberg and served on the board of Hebrew Free Loan with Jerry Rabinowitz. We lived down the street from Irv Younger. Most of my colleagues could, and I'm sure they did, do a same kind of mapping that connected them to the victims. If you ever ask Pittsburghers for directions, they will say, go down there where Isley's used to be. Go over there where Galifte's used to be. Pittsburghers reckon with the present with reference to the past. We cannot change the past, Lord knows we would like to, but we can act for a better present. Let me tell you a story, true story. We were traveling east, as we often do from here, to see our family on the turnpike. We came off the turnpike at Carnegie and had a terrible accident, slammed right into the road abutment, spun the car around. The bags went off. My wife and I were stunned. We couldn't move. We couldn't do anything. We were facing the wrong direction on the highway. As we sat there, cars streamed by us. We were 100 feet from the toll booth. It was slow. They could have stopped. No one stopped. Not one person. And then a man pulled over by the side of the road, got out of his car, came over and offered us whatever help he could. Would you like to guess where he was from? He was from Pittsburgh. Well, we are stunned now, and we are spun around. And we Pittsburghers, like that man who helped us, we will act. And we will do so in 3 ways. I'm a faculty member, after all. I have to give you homework. We need to show up, and you're already doing it. I call this the 3 ups. You need to show up. You need to vote up. I'm a political scientist, as I may have mentioned. Politicians will respond when they are punished at the polls for the hate speech, for their laxity on gun control, and for the disparagement that they offer us to our precious heritage. We will vote up, and we will speak up. When you're at the Thanksgiving table and your cranky Uncle Charlie or beloved cousin Lily says something disparaging, unfeeling, and offensive about African Americans, transgendered people, gay people, Muslims, Jews, you call them on it. You tell them that such speech is unacceptable. Now, there are those that say we should shah still, not speak out. It's not the time. Be silent. To them, I offer the words of Elie Wiesel, author and Holocaust survivor, in his Nobel acceptance speech. He said, "We must take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. We are Pittsburghers, and we will not be silent." Thank you.
Good afternoon. I want to thank Chancellor Gallagher, Provost Cudd, students, faculty, staff, and our distinguished guests, including our beloved mayor, for inviting me here to give my reflections on the events of the past week, and my friend, Joyce Feinberg. It's been an awful week. There are no words to describe it, but I've been holding up pretty well. I'm afraid the beautiful music from these students is going to tear me down. As you heard, my name's Elizabeth Rangel. I'm Director of Communications at the Learning Research and Development Center, from which Joyce Feinberg retired after 25 years. Joyce was a beloved friend and an esteemed colleague. She was known for bringing people together, for creating communities. She was also a well-loved mother, grandmother, aunt, and neighbor. At her funeral last week, the stories we heard of her kindness and thoughtfulness were simply inspiring. And of course, it's very difficult to bring something good out of this awful situation. But I am going to personally be inspired by Joyce to be a thoughtful, caring person to everyone. Loss is always difficult to bear, and the loss of these lives as they sat to worship is especially hard. But we are finding a way to bear this because we are members of a community. We are members of the University of Pittsburgh community, striving to better ourselves and the world around us. We are members of the Pittsburgh community, reaching out to neighbors to enrich our lives and broaden our boundaries, like our neighbors in Squirrel Hill. We are especially fortunate to have Squirrel Hill in our city. It is considered one of the most diverse neighborhoods in Western Pennsylvania. But most importantly, we are members of the human community, uniting to support each other as we try to understand how this senseless act of violence could occur here in our midst and anywhere in society today. Pittsburgh was on the front cover of the New York Times again yesterday, when the Reverend Eric Manning of the Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, where 9 people were murdered in June of 2015, came to meet with Tree of Life Rabbi Jeffrey Myers on Friday downtown. The paper called it a meeting bound by unspeakable grief. And yes, this is unspeakable grief. But we, the members of the University of Pittsburgh community, are united and committed to stemming this violence by speaking out. We will speak out against violence regardless of religion. We will speak out against violence regardless of race. We will speak out against violence regardless of gender. And we will speak out against violence regardless of place of origin. This will unite us from this day forward because we are today and always will be members of the University of Pittsburgh community. Thank you.
On Saturday morning, my roommates and I woke up to a phone call, and within 20 minutes, we were on our way to the local Chabad house to make sure everyone was safe and okay. We were worried that we would have to be the bearers of bad news, but we should have predicted that at least dozens and dozens of students were already there trying to comfort each other and make sure everyone was safe. That is what our Jewish community at the University of Pittsburgh is all about. We have cultivated an environment of love, pride, and unity. This tragic event has only fueled our dedication to Judaism and each other. The light at the end of the tunnel is the rise of Jewish pride in Pittsburgh and the stronger ties of the communities around the world. On Friday night, over 500 students and staff, Jewish and non-Jewish, joined together to honor the 11 victims and celebrate our Jewish identities. We proved and will continue to prove every day that we are strong and driven. Let us continue to use this energy for good and to prove to the world that the University of Pittsburgh is and will always be a welcoming and warm school. What happened has happened, and we cannot change it. But we have to be proactive and prevent this from ever happening again. Let's show the world that the University of Pittsburgh is strong and supports their Jewish community. Love is always going to be stronger than hate.
Thank you all. Next, we will hear an acknowledgement of first responders from Dr. Ann Cudd. Dr. Cudd is the University of Pittsburgh's Provost and Senior Vice Chancellor. Please welcome Provost Ann Cudd.
Norman Rice once said, "Dare to reach out your hand into the darkness, to pull another hand into the light." His words resonate with me as I think about the Pittsburgh first responders, because on Saturday, October 27th, they encountered darkness and confronted it fearlessly, protecting the city and helping many to safety. That morning, a call came in to police dispatchers, and with it, the adrenaline that I can only imagine must charge the airwaves when emergency personnel hear the words, "active shooter." In that early call, dispatchers comforted and guided those trapped inside the Tree of Life synagogue in every way possible. They also answered calls from others at the scene, and they sent all available emergency personnel right away. En route to the scene, first responders must have wondered, How can we stop this bad situation? What lies ahead? What medical needs will the injured have? Are my fellow officers going to be okay? And so many helped. Law enforcement at every level, firefighters, EMS, physicians, nurses, bystanders who quickly stepped in, community partners from the Jewish Community Center to the Red Cross, Salvation Army, 412 Food Rescue, our broad community of faith leaders, counselors, social workers. The list is as long as it is representative of Pittsburgh's caring spirit and of caring others who came from other states and countries to see how they too could assist us. In the days that have followed since October 27th, the media has profiled just a few of the many protectors and healers who helped during this devastating incident. And when these amazing professionals speak, their words resonate just as clearly as their actions. To all of the helpers, please know, our gratitude is as deep as your bravery and your compassion. Our gratitude is as everlasting as the heroic actions you took that day and in the days that have followed, and which are still unfolding. Your actions and expertise make us proud and are helping us to begin to heal, to take steps forward with more confidence. Each of you reflect the power of your training and the power of your preparedness, but uniformly, you reflect the power of selfless service and love of community. And while these words will never be enough, I say thank you.
We are grateful that Mayor Bill Peduto and County Executive Rich Fitzgerald have been able to arrange their demanding schedules to be with us today. Both Mayor Peduto and County Executive Fitzgerald are longtime public servants, as well as longtime residents of Squirrel Hill. Please welcome them.
Well, thank you. And, Pittsburgh is a town in which we're very, very proud of the great things that we do. We stride across the world stage with great sports teams and universities and arts and cultural and the industrial age, all the things that we do. But in many ways, we're also a small town. We're a small town in which we all know each other. We all have 1 degree of separation. And in that small town, the biggest neighborhood of them all is Squirrel Hill. And if you think Pittsburgh's a small town, Squirrel Hill is even smaller, because everyone knows each other, everyone has a connection. And what happened last week was unthinkable. It was unthinkable for those of us that lived here, those of us that are Squirrel Hill in our heart and Pittsburgh in our heart. And what has reached out across the globe to Pittsburgh is nothing short of inspiring. And what you are doing continues to be part of that, because you're part of that. Whether you just came here a week ago or whether you're a newcomer like the professor who came here 40 years ago, we're all Pittsburghers. We're all Pittsburghers who care about what we are. And the great reputation we also have is as a city of bridges, both physically and metaphorically. And you don't have to be a mayor or a university chancellor to be welcoming people across those bridges. We're all part of the welcoming part of Pittsburgh. So everyone is welcome in Pittsburgh, regardless of where you worship, regardless of what part of the globe your ancestors were from, regardless of what the pigmentation of your skin is, regardless of who you love. Hate has no place in our community. And I think the world is seeing that over the last week.
Hail to Pitt. Hail to Pittsburgh. It's been a long week. It's one of those things that you hear about and you watch and you see in other cities, but you don't think it would ever happen and hit it home. And it's a cliche to actually even say those words, but there's a truth that rings through it. There is an evil that we experienced last Saturday that created the darkest day in Pittsburgh's history. An evil that went beyond a mass murder to a mass murder that chose people because of the way they pray. And it looked upon the elderly as the victims, and it went to the one place on earth where they felt sanctuary and peace in their connection to God. And it preyed upon all of us that felt that level of evil, and it left us hollow. The question is, what do we put back in to fill us? Because as Dr. Martin Luther King said, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hatred cannot drive out hatred. Only love can do that. That's where we are today. In a way to find how we can combat bigotry with compassion. How we can combat divisiveness with unity. How we combat hatred with love. I could not be more proud of the people of the city of Pittsburgh. I could not be more proud of the combined efforts of public safety across jurisdictions. I could not be more proud than our Jewish community. I could be not more proud to be the mayor of this city than I am today, because we are showing the world that we don't have to fight hatred with hatred, that we can defeat hatred and say it has no place in this city, that we can turn and look to our neighbor and say, no, it is not right to say that, it is not rational, and it is not part of a public discourse, that we can raise back from before the time that you were young little children, back in the days of 9/11 till today, where your generation has been a generation that has seen massacre after massacre after massacre after massacre, and say it has to end, that there are solutions to problems and we're going to work together to fix them. And we will not allow hate to be part of the discussion on how those problems get solved. And we are going to say that we are going to do it in Pittsburgh. And in Pittsburgh, we will have one mission, to make sure that what happened on Saturday, that evil, is never seen again.
We now welcome words from Rabbi Dr. Danny Schiff. Rabbi Schiff is the Foundation Scholar at the Jewish Federation of Greater Pittsburgh and the founder and president of the Museum of Jewish Ideas. He is a noted teacher and researcher in Jewish ethics. Following Rabbi Schiff, Pitt's a cappella group C-Flat Run will perform Grow by Francis.
I speak to you today as a mourner. We are all mourners together. We mourn the loss of these 11 individuals: Joyce Feinberg, Jerry Rabinowitz, David Rosenthal, Cecil Rosenthal, Irving Younger, Dan Stein, Rose Mallinger, Richard Gottfried, Bernice Simon, Sylvan Simon, Mel Wax. Yehi Zichram Baruch. May their memory be for a blessing. They were murdered in a synagogue on Shabbat. Their lives were taken. The holy space, the sanctuary at the core of Jewish life, was violated. And people ask, where shall we find healing? How do we go about the task after such deep, grievous loss of healing our minds, of healing our bodies, of healing our spirits? There is just one answer to that question. Don't ask how to heal yourself. Ask rather how to heal another. If you want to be whole, hold somebody up. If you want to feel that the world might yet again be put back together, then be the support for another. Ask not, what shall I do for myself? Ask rather, what can I do for my neighbor? Today we all wear t-shirts. We are all together. In the weeks ahead, we will not come back to this place to be together. And the t-shirts won't be worn anymore. What will you do with the t-shirt? Look at that shirt. On that shirt, at the top, in gold, is a symbol that people wrongly call the Star of David. It's not a star. In Hebrew, it's called the Magen David. What's a magen? A magen is a shield. It's the shield of David. Take your t-shirt home. Hang it on your wall. Look at that shield and resolve that in the weeks and months and years ahead, you will respond to this evil by being a shield against anti-Semitism, a shield to protect the vulnerable, a shield around the downtrodden, a shield for those who need you. Be a shield. Let us ever resolve to remember those individuals who were murdered last week by being a shield around the vulnerable, that this might never happen again. Amen.
We'll be singing Grow by Francis, and this song is all about just being there for each other through the hard times, but also calls us to throw our arms out and just share love with one another, and that's the only way that we can grow.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Don't put your eyes down, not to blame. I know there are stories you can't explain. But if I should find you black and blue, aching from crying, I'll wait with you. I've left you away by the door. Don't need to ask me what it's for. By the friends that do your turn. Hear every story that you Don't put your eyes down, I'm not to blame. I know there are stories you can't explain.
Returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. With thoughts of these timeless words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we now end our program with a call to action from three remarkable individuals. John Wallace Jr. is a professor at the University of Pittsburgh with appointments at the School of Social Work, the Katz Graduate School of Business, and the Dietrich School of Arts and Sciences. Dr. Wallace is the senior pastor of Bible Center Church, located in Pittsburgh's Homewood neighborhood. Following John will be Wazi Mohammed, Executive Director of the Islamic Center of Pittsburgh. Wazi coordinated an online crowdfunding campaign launched by Muslim activists across the country. They are responsible for raising over $230,000 for victims of the attack. On Saturday, Wazi addressed mourners and worshipers at the Rodef Shalom congregation, where he honored the city's unity and the Jewish community's resilience, stating, "This wasn't about a hateful act. This was about a hopeful community building solidarity in the shadow of a crisis." And finally, we will hear from Pitt student Catherine Fleischer. Catherine is a board member of Panthers for Israel, a member of Students Demand Action, and the founder of Pitt's Leading Women of Tomorrow chapter. She is also a contributor to the intersexual feminist magazine The Fourth Wave and an Elsie Hillman Honors Scholar.
Wow, what a beautiful sight. We stand today together as members of the Pitt community without regard to our religion, our race, our gender, our sexual orientation, even our major, our school, or our department. We stand united to mourn and remember those who were killed by hate. The question with which I wrestle personally and with which I would like us all to grapple today is, will today simply be a sad and mournful ending to a horrific event spawned and birthed by hate? Or will it mark a powerful new beginning, driven first and foremost by love? The Apostle Paul wrote these words: "Love is patient, love is kind. It doesn't envy, it does not boast. Love is not proud. It does not dishonor others, is not self-seeking, is not easily angered. Love keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always perseveres. Love never fails." Pitt is known around the globe for the impact of our research, for the quality of our academics, and even for the breadth of our service. But imagine with me for just a moment, imagine if from this day forward, the University of Pittsburgh were to become internationally known for the depth of our love and our care and concern for one another. As I close, I would like to challenge us to take the seeds sown by hate, bury them deeply in the rich and fertile soil of the University of Pittsburgh, and use them to yield an abundant and perpetual harvest of unconditional love. Hail to Pitt.
Assalamu alaikum. May peace and blessings be upon all of you. My name is Wasi Muhammad. Like was mentioned, I'm the executive director of the Islamic Center of Pittsburgh and of Engage, Pennsylvania, a Muslim political advocacy organization. A couple days ago, we were actually right across the street. And it was an interfaith vigil, and they asked me to speak, and what I chose to share was a verse from the Quran that kind of called us, the 41st chapter, the 34th verse. What it said was, when you see evil, when you are faced with evil, you must respond with goodness. I didn't realize why that was so important at the time. It just sounded good. The rest of the week really made me see that. What the Jewish community today, despite facing a tragedy, what they did for the world was so important. What the Pittsburgh community did was so important. Because of that evil, every single person touched by that, thousands of people around the world, hundreds of thousands, I'd say, all responded with acts of goodness. You donated something. You showed up for a vigil. You did something positive. And instead of one person's darkness dominating the headlines, you had beautiful stories of the 11 brothers and sisters that we lost. You had stories of unity amongst Muslim and Jewish brothers and sisters that people didn't think should be together. You had images of all of you like here today coming together in vigils and praying for the victims. And that was so important. Because the world needs a little bit more of that. And I thought about that. Why was that so important for everybody to see? Why were people crying on the street because of our reaction? And I came to 2 reasons. One, because I'm around the same age as y'all, the challenge of our generation, the reason that the antidote is love and solidarity is because there've never been so much hatred and division in our society as today, I believe. And that's a lot to say in this country. But we don't agree. I hate you because you're Muslim. I hate you because you're Jewish. I hate you because you're white. I hate you because you're black. I hate you because you're Republican. I hate you because you're a Democrat. We are not together. And it's a problem. Who here goes to Pitt? Raise your hand. Okay. So I went here. And I think that means something. What these people gave us, the people who had died, the people we must not forget, is a moment of solidarity that spread hope and love across the world. But it was a moment. What we all have the responsibility to do is not let that moment pass, but to keep it going. If they pass, if before the last tear drops, if you have not made a plan on how you're going to do that, if you're not committed to spreading more love and building more solidarity, if you have not changed one thing that you do every day in your life, then you have failed them. You don't truly mourn them. And our fight is a complicated one. But what I know is that I keep using the term brothers and sisters, and people are surprised because we're Muslim and Jewish, but that's what we are. We're all one family. And I use that term because we are family. And what I ask of everybody, that what I think a true Pitt education is not going to these classes and finishing, but it's changing who you are. It's growing up. It's becoming, having a closed mind and leaving with an open one, having a closed heart and leaving with an open one. That's what a true Pitt education is. And if you want to see, if I want to be proud to say hail to Pitt, what I expect of each and every one of you is to make that commitment. And if family members, you commit. You don't say, what do you need, to when family members in need and you make a decision there. You are just there for family. It doesn't matter what it is. So moving forward, there will be lots of calls to action, and I expect your answer to always be the same. So I'm really grateful and I'm proud to see, being an alum of this university, so many people come up today. So thank you for showing up. But the question is, are you going to show up tomorrow? Are you going to show up the next day? Or the next week or the next year? Because this problem will not go away shortly. So to earn those seats that you're sitting in right now as a Pitt student to a university that I love so much, to truly mourn and grieve for the brothers and sisters that we lost, you must commit yourselves personally to fighting this. And think a month from today, reflect back and think about, what did I change in my life? And the answer is nothing. Then remember my words today. But right now, I am proud to have been an alum of the University of Pittsburgh. Please make me be able to say that in a month from now and a year from now. Thank you so much for your time.
On October 27th, Pittsburgh became yet another site of a deadly hate crime. Our city became an epicenter of hate. And while the pain and the grief, the heartbreak and the sorrow that this tragedy brought upon our community is near to suffocating, we have also been presented with the unexpected and wildly valuable opportunity. And here it is. The epicenter of hate has the power to determine what will radiate outward from their community into the rest of the world. That is the power that we have been given today, and the power that we must embrace. It is incredibly easy, in fact, it is all too easy, to allow the resulting force of a hate-fueled massacre to simply be more hate. It would be natural and perhaps even more human to allow resentment, fear, distrust, and anger to run rampant through our community, escaping out into the rest of the world. But that's not what we've done, and it is not what we will allow to happen. We know that it is up to us to take the explosive ingredients of hate and rework them into a recipe for unconditional love. We know that if we reject the division of our beautifully diverse community, that we will be denying hate crimes their power and actively diffusing violence. And we know that showing up for the Jewish community like you all are doing right now binds us to showing up for all other marginalized communities in their times of need. Hate and violence, like the Jewish community experienced only a few days ago, is never permissible. Not in the Jewish community, not in communities of color, not in our immigrant communities, not in our LGBTQ communities, not in our Muslim communities, not in any of our communities. And in order for us to make good on that commitment, you must take individual responsibility for it. It is on you to breach your comfort zone and become active in the wider community. Reach out to your neighbors. Get to know those that don't look or act or pray or love in the same way that you do. Ask questions about what you don't understand, and throw open your doors and invite others in instead of locking them out. And most importantly, radically embrace what it means to love your neighbor as yourself. We cannot build bridges or ensure that love will win without you deciding to make it happen. Ridding this world of hate and violence is on you, it's on me, and it's on us. Hate will not define this community. Violence will not define this community. We will stand together as one, unbreakable against the cruel forces of hatred and violence. Our community will continue to be built upon a foundation of compassion, one fortified by love, strengthened by patience, reinforced by open-mindedness, because we are Pitt, and together we truly are stronger than hate. Thank you.
We will close the program today with an original song written and performed by Pitt student Harry Lebowitz and alumnus Konstantin Dayev. Music was their way to express their grief while offering hope, healing, and promoting unity throughout the community. The song was inspired by Pittsburgh's Stronger Than Hate motto. Members of the Blue and Gold Society, Songbirds, C-Flat Run, and all of you will be invited to join Harry as he sings the chorus, Stronger Than Hate. Please welcome them.
Thank you, everybody. Let's spread love.
Love is stronger than hate. We can change it today. Yeah, my bones they may break, but it's never too late. 'Cause love is stronger than hate. There's nothing we can't face. I don't care what they say. Love is stronger than hate. Back when we used to go out to the park, I wish I knew more about you from the start. I waited for you 'cause I thought we had time. I know that you're gone, but you're still on my mind. Hatred can't weaken a city of steel. I know that you're broken, but we can rebuild. You only need time, a moment to heal. Love is stronger than hate. We can change it today. Yeah, my bones they may break, but it's never too late. 'Cause love is stronger than hate. There's nothing we can't face. I don't care what they say. Love is stronger than hate. 'Cause love is stronger than hate. We can change it today. Yeah, my bones they may break, but it's never too late. 'Cause love is stronger than hate. There's nothing we can't face. I don't care what they say. Love is stronger than hate. do as I look at the stars. I hope that I'll find you wherever you are. No matter what happens, we will not stay down. A city of rivers, but we'll never drown. I know you feel lost, but together we're found. Love is stronger than hate. Love is stronger than hate. Everybody. Love is stronger than hate. We can change it today. Love is stronger than hate. We can change it today. Love is stronger than hate. We can change it today. Yeah, my bones they may break, but it's never too late. 'Cause love is stronger than hate. There's nothing we can't face. I don't care what they say. Love is stronger than hate. 'Cause love is stronger than hate. We can change it today. Yeah, my bones they may break, but it's never too late. 'Cause love is stronger than hate. There's nothing we can't face. I don't care what they say. Love is stronger than hate. Thank you, everyone.
I want to take this time to thank our speakers, performers, and everyone who played a part in making this happen. Students, faculty, staff, and members of the community. Off to your right are 2 banners for you to sign as you leave. One will be moved to the Tree of Life, and one will be given to the Heinz History Center. Thank you for coming out today and showing that together our community is stronger than hate.